Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Crypto Cove tonight. How are you all doing?
Right.
Yeah, we are good. Anxious to hear what you're going to make there for us.
Excellent, excellent. So, folks, some of you that are on this call might not be too aware of who I am. I see some names I don't recognize. Real quick, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Hunter Rodriguez. I am a 28-year-old cryptocurrency enthusiast who is currently living in Panama, and I've been involved in the crypto space for the last 15 years now. And what a 15 years it has been, let me tell you. But tonight, what we're going to be talking about is a utility that I'm building a as a community resource for an ecosystem, and I'll go ahead and get started with that. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so folks, here we have ChainKit. Now, ChainKit is an online utility that I'm building that, among other things, is meant to serve as a lookup tool for you. So you can look up transaction hashes as well as wallet addresses and even ENS names as well. That's the core part of the tool, but there are also other components of the tool that I'll go through just briefly before we take a look at each one. Gas fees. Now, this shows you what gas fees are like on several popular Ethereum-based chains at the moment. Prices show you a rough estimate of where a good deal of popular tokens and coins are at as far as price goes right at the moment. And it also shows where they've been going up or down as far as the last 24 hours go. So that way you have a decent bird's eye view as far as what the market is doing. And we also have an historic selector here that allows you to see how any one of the tokens on our list did on a particular day. So, for example, well, actually, we'll come back to that. Not time for that yet. We have a safety check for Web3 wallets. Now, this safety check does not require you to connect your wallets to ChainKit. None of what's here requires you to connect your wallet to it at all. So no wallet connection means nothing at all can ever happen without your express say so. More on that in a little while. The next section, we have a directory of a lot of common services in the crypto space. Next, we have deposits, which shows a list of all the tokens available that are accepted for deposits through the payment processor Now Payments or Clickbait Pays. That's the community that this tool is being built for ultimately, although a lot of these tools are generic enough to be used all over the ecosystem. And I know a lot of users of Clickbait Pays out there watching us right now will appreciate the timer here that shows Panama time, and also shows how long it takes until the daily reset happens for you to be able to start clicking again. All right, so with that, we'll go ahead and take a closer look at each of the tools here, starting with the lookup tool. Now, as I mentioned before, the lookup tool allows you to do a lookup of a particular transaction, wallet address, or ENS name, and I'm going to quickly demo what that looks like here with a couple examples. All right, the first is we're going to be looking at a random Bitcoin transaction that I sourced just a while before we started this call. So I'll go ahead and paste that Bitcoin transaction hash into this field. And you can see that ChainKit detects that this is a 64 character transaction hash. And this is the type used by Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, XRP, Cardano, Ton, and Cosmos chains, among many others. So it's just going to check the chains that I've listed that match this format. So we'll go ahead and click on the search function, rather. And we can see that it's now populated with the transaction information here. We can see when the transaction took place, Panama time. Now, this is going to be Panama time for me because, well, I live in Panama. I'm on Panama time. But it will show the time that this transaction took place in the time zone that you're in. So you won't have to do any arithmetic to convert to UTC from UTC or anything else of that matter. And it also shows you the amounts that was sent in that transaction. We can see that it was just over 2 Bitcoin that was sent in this transaction. We also see the value roughly that the amount was worth at the time. You see, if we zoom in here, we can see that this was around $130,787 worth of Bitcoin at the time. We can see the block that it was included in. We can see the network fee that it was sent in. And then we also have some other information that is useful in the case of, like, for example, batch transactions, which we also have some special logic on this tool that can also help with as well. And we also see the actual size of the transaction. Now, some of this may not be useful to you if you're just trying to look up a transaction, but if you want a bird's eye view at a glance of what happened with this transaction, this tool gives you a decent chance to look at that. And you also have a link here that goes to a block explorer, which will show you even more about that transaction. You can see clicking on Block Explorer took us over to block screen. And now we see quite a bit more regarding this transaction. All right, so moving on to the next example. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at a transaction on the Ethereum chain. So I'll go ahead and paste the new Ethereum chain transaction hash in here. And we can see that ChainKit detected that this was an Ethereum style transaction hash because it begins with 0x. And this is the type of transaction hash that is also used by Aptos, VeChain, Polkadot, as well as many other chains that harken back to Ethereum's infrastructure. We'll go ahead and click on the search button. And we can see that it is indeed an Ethereum transaction. And one thing you will also notice is that this tool also shows the number of confirmations that a transaction has seen. We can see in this case that this transaction has received 382 confirmations, and it also shows the verdict as to whether that transaction has been settled or not. Now, in this case, we can see that with 382 confirmations, this Ethereum transaction is well and truly settled. So with that, we'll go ahead and scroll down just a bit. And if an ENS address is involved, it will also show us the information regarding that. If not, it will show us the information regarding where this transaction was being sent from and where it was being sent to. And we can see in this case, we can also see that this was actually a token transfer of the Ethereum name service token, ENS, for 771.342 ENS. And down here, we again can see information regarding the transaction itself as well. We can see that 0 Ethereum was sent, which makes sense because this was a token transfer. We can see if the transaction was successful or not. Again, the block number and the network fee, or gas fee as Ethereum-based chains call it. And again, if we'd like, we can go ahead and click on Block Explorer right here in the top right corner. And that'll take us to a Block Explorer where we can see even more regarding this transaction. Alrighty, we'll move on to the next example. And for this example, we're actually going to use an Ethereum name service address. In this case, we're going to use alice.eth. Most of the time, you might not see these unless you delve deep into crypto, but if you do see them, this helps you be able to resolve that to an address and learn more about it. We can see that for this address, we can see that it holds 0.023562 Ethereum. And if we scroll down, we can also see the other chains that this address is active on. All right, and that's it for the lookup tool examples. Now we'll go over to gas fees, and gas fees is pretty straightforward. This shows you what the gas fees are like on several popular EVM-based chains at the moment. We can see that a lot of them are doing pretty good right now. Ethereum is pretty low. BNB chain is pretty low. Polygon is pretty low, and so on. You can also click the refresh button here to refresh the values, although they will refresh automatically every 30 seconds or so. So I'm not sure why you would ever need to hit that button, but it's there if you want to hit it. All right, prices. Again, we of course have the price values for today, and we also have historic values as well. Like for example, if we select Ethereum, and I want to see how Ethereum was doing, let's say a month ago now. So today is August 18th. So we'll do September 18th, 2026. Then we'll click the lookup button. And it shows us the rough mean price that Ethereum was at on that day. And in this case, we can see that this was $1,840.77. Moving on to safety check. And this is where we're going to do a couple more demos. The first thing you'll notice here is check a token. Now, this allows you to check on some information regarding a particular token and take a look at a potential red flags that may exist with that token. So for the first example of that, I'm going to select Wrapped Ethereum or WETH to show what happens when this scanner shows nothing at all wrong with the token at all. We can see that automated checks found nothing alarming. Automated checks trade simulations were able to buy and sell this token just fine. There was no tax charged on selling this token. The contract code on the token is published and can be inspected, excuse me. Nobody controls the token contract, and the supply of the token is fixed. And if we look down here, we can also see that it also shows us a bit more basic information about the token. Like we can see that there are over 3.6 million holders of WETH, a total supply of over 2.2 billion, liquidity of around 99 million. So yeah, that gives you some information to go off of. So now let's go ahead and take a look at what happens when we want to trigger some issues with that token or potential issues. And for that, I'm going to use USDT's contract address. We'll paste into this box again, and we'll click check. And now we can see, oh, automated checks found serious problems. And we can go ahead and scroll in here. Automated trade simulation was able to both buy and sell, so that's fine. No tax is charged on selling the token, so that's good. The contract code is published and can be inspected, but right around here is where we start running into some red flags or other concerns that you might be worried about before investing in one particular token or another. We can see that according to this check, the owner can change how much anyone holds because Tether Limited has the authority to do so. It's still controlled by one particular wallet that Tether has control over. More tokens can be created, which dilutes existing holders. And individual addresses can be blocked from trading. Now, all that's being said, there's definitely some red flags there, but I certainly wouldn't call USDT a scam token. Would any of y'all? Anyone? All right, I guess not, since no one's answering. And that's definitely the crux of what I want to build with this particular tool. This tool cannot tell you if a token that you're looking at is a scam or not. No automated system and no automated check can ever make that determination for you. What this does is just gives you a bit more information to go off of when you're doing your due diligence and doing your research to help you make more informed decisions as to whether you want to buy a token or not. So do not take any results here is a clear, surefire indicator that token is either safe or a scam. This tool will not show you that and is not meant to show you that. The next part of this tool is a wallet approval checker. What this allows you to do is allow you to check the approvals that a wallet address has given to either tokens or particular services. So for example, let's go ahead and take a look at the tokens that I've given approvals over on a wallet address that I've been using for a couple years. So I'll go ahead and paste them to this box here, and we'll click on the check button. And we can see that I've forgotten to remove a couple of permissions here under the years. This will also show us some basic information on what that particular approval is and how much that approval is allowed to spend from this wallet. Now, this tool does not allow you to actually remove permissions because to do so would require connecting your wallets and would require the site to actually connect with your wallet. And I've taken care to avoid that so the tool can be trustworthy. So again, this is just for your information so you can take action on anything you see here that looks concerning. All right, next up is the directory section. This is pretty straightforward as you might expect. This is essentially just an index of several common services and programs available through the crypto space because unfortunately in the cryptocurrency space and the Web3 space, there's a lot of typo squatting going around where it can look like you're on the correct website for a tool or a service, but you actually are not. And that can be an issue when it comes time to try and trust such a service, because if you send your cryptocurrency to a service that isn't the correct service, there's an imposter, or if you connect your wallets to a platform or service that isn't actually the platform or service that you were expecting, then that can lead to loss of funds. So I have several links here that are the real McCoy links to these services to try and help combat that. And I also have several other links here to services such as for education, so you can further your crypto knowledge if you would like. You'll notice that some of these links here are going to be referral links. Any referral commission that I get from your usage of these services helps to sustain the development of ChainKit, as well as help it reach new heights later on. Deposits, again, this is pretty straightforward. If you've seen the demonstration board that I made a while ago showing all the tokens that ClickBait pays accepts for deposits, this is basically just a polished version of that. Yeah, really not a lot more to say about this one. It's essentially just, again, a list of tokens here that I check and updates regularly if need be. All right, so that was most of the tool. What do you all think?
Yeah, great job, Hunter. I like the fact that you can trace, your wallet, trace your payment, so you can see exactly what is happening. I think I will need to attend some more meetings so that, I can learn a bit more of what you had there. Some of it passed over my head, but I got the main thing in it. But you were doing a fantastic job, and I will try my best to attend your meeting as much as I could.
Appreciate. And that's definitely a key theme of what I built here is I'm trying to build something that can help get the community, the ecosystem, and for that matter, anyone else who happens upon this tool, more information to be able to make informed decisions, especially if they're a cryptocurrency newbie. Because for anyone who's attended my crypto code calls, especially the more recent education calls, you know that I'm definitely hardcore when it comes to cryptocurrency. Definitely. All right, let me go ahead and check the chat here. I'm not ready to publish a link for the site yet because this tool is actually still in development, but we'll be ready for beta testers before too long. So if that's something that you find yourself interested in, get in touch with me on Telegram after the call. Yeah. And yes, this video is being recorded and it will be put up on my YouTube channel, so not to worry. All right, so with that being said, this is just look at what I'm able to build with this tool right now. It definitely is not perfect. In fact, there's definitely still some things that can absolutely be improved, some of which I can improve as time goes on, some of which I'll need some help with. Like, for example, let's go ahead and share the screen again. And let's go back over to the lookup tool. Now, one thing I didn't mention back when we were looking at this tool originally is that this tool supports lookup for 64 different chains and also shows a lookup history that's stored in your browser, not on a server anywhere. But one flaw that this tool does have is that there's some API endpoints that it contacts that just are not reliable for one reason or another. Like, for example, let's pick a random transaction over on the Tron network, since I've noticed that this is definitely mostly an issue with the Tron network's API. So let's, for example, just pick the top transaction here, and we'll go back to ChainKit, and we'll paste that transaction hash in and click search. And we'll see that no transaction with that hash was found. That's because the API key call that was used in this voice at this point for this transaction just did not respond to my tool at all. So definitely don't treat this as the end all be all. I'm definitely doing the best I can with what I have to work with right now. But one thing I definitely want to do to improve this tool later on is to add more endpoints for more block explorers. So hopefully in cases like these, we can just transition gracefully to the next block explorer for that particular chain to the point where one of them, at least one of them, will respond and give you the information that you were expecting. So that's definitely something on the to-do list to improve this tool. And there's also several other things that I want to do to improve this tool in a more general sense. Like, for example, I want to ultimately move this off of a GitHub subdomain because right now this is posted entirely on GitHub pages. I want to get stable and secure hosting for it as well. And I'd also like to add some optional features here that a user can partake in to connect their wallet to a secure service. Again, if they choose to partake in those services. All those services will be optional. The core parts of the tooling will still be able to be used without connecting your wallet. That's a big ethos of what I'm doing here is that you don't need to connect your wallet for anything here. So I'd say those sound like pretty decent goals, wouldn't you all say?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, from little acorns to my oats growers, I like to say in several communities. But to get there, I'm gonna need your help. So with that in mind, we of course have the affiliate links that will help serve as funding that the service uses to keep going and ultimately build out from. But we'll also have several donation options available when this tool goes fully live to the community. We can see that there is an option to connect your wallets if you want to do so. This is completely optional. You do not need to use this at all to donate or do anything else with the site if you don't want to. But if we scroll down, we can see that we have several donation options as well as click pick buttons for doing so. And we also have a JavaScript tool here that also allows you to donate other tokens that I just don't have listed here, although I am planning on adding more before the tool goes live. But if we go ahead and launch this widget here, and okay, I expected it to come up in the center here, but I suppose it's fine that it's on the left here. So this widget here allows you to select many different types of cryptocurrency that you can donate to me. And what this tool will do is it will actually do a swap on your behalf and send the resulting proceeds over to me in a token that I would like. Now, I'm going to be adding native supports for more tokens so you can just send those tokens to a wallet I control directly so you don't have to trust something like this. But for now, this is mainly what I have here. And any donations made, again, will go towards upkeep of ChainKit as well as helping it reach new heights. All right, so that was about it. That was everything fit to print about ChainKit. So what do you all think?
I think it's great.
Thank you.
Very educational, I should say. It's wonderful, but very educational.
Thank you. Wait, that's definitely something I was going for. All right, let me check the chat here. All right, and Brian says very much a learning curve for me. It can be, but I try to streamline operations to make it as simple as possible. But some changes will definitely be made based off of feedback that I get from the beta testers. And I'll probably be ready to open this up to beta testers sometime within the next week or two. So if you're interested in kicking the tires on this new tool that I'm making, DM me on Telegram after this call and I'll add your name to the list. So with that in mind, is there anything anyone wants to ask or say before we stop the recording? No? All right then. Yep, so this is a relatively short call, so I'll go ahead and stop the recording.